Presidential candidate Bernie Sanders releasing his much-anticipated tax plan. So it's a plan that includes big tax hikes for some Americans. In fact, rates as high as 52% for high-income earners. You have to go back to 1980 to see a tax rate that high, and in some cases then it was at 70%. With me now, real estate chief executive Don Peebles. He is the CEO of Peebles Corporation. Don, first of all, welcome.
Thank you.
Second of all, how frightening is that we go after people who have worked hard and succeeded, but 52% seems punishing? Look,
52% plus if you're in New York City, another 14% to get you to almost 70%. It's absurd. The reality is Bernie Sanders is another example. He and Bill de Blasio and their views have hijacked the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party, with the lens of what we just heard, is not reflective of where most of the country is, and most of the Democrats, certainly someone like me.
Do you think it is just in part on strategy that now all of a sudden Hillary Clinton, if you're just looking at the Democratic Party, looks like a very reasonable person if you compare it to somebody who wants to tax high earners at 52%?
Well, she certainly looks much more reasonable than Bernie Sanders. I think Bernie Sanders is trying to energize an electorate and change the electorate a bit by getting more young people out, mostly people who are young, who have not gone out here and had to work and suffer the consequences of high taxes. They're the ones who are wanting to tax people at 80 and 90% or 70%. But he's not reflective of where most of the country is. In fact, you know, it's not reality, and it would destroy the country, and it would destroy places like New York City.
So, Don, let me ask you, as long as we're talking about politics, Donald Trump made some remarks in reference to something that his rival, Senator Ted Cruz, said about New York values. What do you make of this face-off and Donald Trump's answer, which came across as very heartfelt and patriotic about New Yorkers' resilience?
Well, I thought Donald Trump handled that question or that comment very well. You know, New York values to me is a city of opportunity, a city of aspiration, the idea that anything is possible, the idea that if you work hard, that you can accomplish great things. That's what America is, and I think the best reflection of the greatness of America is New York City. So I don't know what Cruz was talking about, other than I think he's alienating more of the country. He can't get along with any of his colleagues in the Senate, and here we are alienating most of the country.
So hold that thought, because Senator Cruz did double down on some of the criticisms. We're just going to play a quick clip.
What is it going to mean for Donald Trump to have Bill de Blasio as mayor?
Well, I think he's a smart guy that knows what's going on, really big league, and I think he's not going to want to destroy New York.
That was Donald Trump a little over 2 years ago, endorsing PC socialist Bill de Blasio for New York mayor.
And I think pretty strongly that he'll end up being a good mayor, maybe a very good mayor.
De Blasio ran on class warfare, sanctuary cities, and ending stop and frisk. De Blasio sided with looters and cop killers against the police.
So Senator Cruz obviously taking on Trump, doubling down on that. But what do you make of those associations between Donald Trump and Bill de Blasio?
Well, first of all, I think Donald Trump's not alone. I think the entire city has buyer's remorse when it comes to Bill de Blasio. He's let us all down. I don't think people believe de Blasio was going to be as radical as he is and as incompetent as he's proven himself. In fact, Donald has said he's the worst mayor in New York City. That's a good assessment. I think Donald was wrong in his prior assessment. And ironically, probably one of the few things I agree with what Senator Cruz says is his assessment of Bill de Blasio. In many ways, he is deeply in over his head and out of step with where New York is. New York is not a socialist republic. We're a city of entrepreneurism and optimism.
All right, Don, when are you going to run?
Well, I'm giving a lot of thought to it, but look, it's, you know, there's no candidate out here, and this man, if he continues to run our city, he'll run it into the ground, so someone has to do something, and so I'm giving thought to doing something about it.
I hope you announce officially right here. In the meantime, before I let you go, I just want to ask you what you think Palin, Sarah Palin's endorsement of Donald Trump's bid for the presidency means to the presidential race.
Well, I think she gives him a little bit of an edge with Tea Party goers, but I think the mainstream of the party sees her as pretty much incompetent, and I think that it'll have no sway there, but it may help him a little nudge in Iowa. But I think he's got a good shot in Iowa, and I think he's got an outstanding opportunity in New Hampshire.
Well, we're going to take our viewers to Iowa in about 15 minutes' time. In the meantime, Don Peebles, thank you so much. Great to see you. Don Peebles joining me there, real estate CEO of Peebles Corporation.